Hello and welcome to another one of my live streams. I'm ED-SKaR and I have some 3D modeling to do. If anyone's in the chat, I've moved it onto the screen so you can actually see what's being said. Do let me know if my audio is even remotely correct. I have changed it and therefore it probably isn't. So for today I'm going to be doing some wooden planks, which is not something I've done before. That's why we have a big open space. I also have to look at the shield that I made previously. I have to look at some bases that I've made previously. And of course, the long project that is coming close to the point where I need to work out what the heck is wrong with my printer so I can actually make this thing, because this is looking pretty good so far. But to get started, let's look at the bases, because these are some of the easier things to deal with. And one of the things, the main thing that is the problem with these bases, is that these are supposed to be 60mm bases. These are for the Imperial Guard Heavy Weapons team mainly. And it says on the back of the box that they're 60mm, and it says on the Games Workshop website that they're 60mm. Hello, Foxymits. Being in colour. Am I in colour? Thank you for the audio check. And so I made them as 60mm. However, once printed out, they're not the same size as the original one. And that was kind of strange. I thought that maybe my tolerances were off, maybe I entered the number in wrong, maybe I'd made some mistake. However, on a video I made recently, the Defcopter, I compared the original base from the... Ah, yes, this is all in colours. I see what you mean. Alice Coatduck taught me how to change the material that things are made of, because you can open up this and you can select like glass blue, oh wait, face, and I can make the windows. Kind of looks weird because there's all sorts of odd geometry on the inside that shows through, but there you go. I can spend the entire rest of the stream just doing this. There are so many faces and features on this train. The thing is that even though I do all of this, it won't show up because this is just it won't show up when it's printed, because this is literally just a cosmetic thing in the software. When you save this as an STL, none of the surface, none of this stuff actually applies. Yeah, stick that there because that's a useful thing to have. Where was I before I was distracted? I also made these in shiny silver. I did put the rails in concrete, but then I made them again because I didn't like the old ones. Right, yes, I was saying how I made these 60mm and they don't match the real ones, which are supposed to be 60mm. And I compared the original one to the flying base, the large flying base from Battlefleet Gothic, which is... Yes, you're correct. Engel says that I can make fantastic reindeers. When I learn how to do that, when Alice teaches me how to do that, I'll make some great looking two-dimensional, well, three-dimensional digital artwork. But not when it's printed, and I usually print the stuff. That is, well, actually no, I don't usually print my stuff because usually I have a broken printer. Anyway, so I compared these, the printed one and the original Heavy Weapons Team base, to a 60mm flying base, and mine matched because mine is 60mm, but the Heavy Weapons Team base, the plastic one, didn't match. And so I measured it, and it is 64mm. It is a lie. When it says 60mm base on the box and on the website, it is a lie. It is not a 60mm base, this is a 64. Therefore... Oh, that's far too complicated. Top button, design, render. gone all dark. Light source is over there. Can I change the light source? Can I not swing it around? There you go. It looks all shiny. I'm telling a story about the base and you're all talking about the train. How do I get out? Do I just go back to design? Yeah, okay, good. That's easy enough. The thing is, this view has a shadow that is directly straight down, but it's not from a single light source, it's from a laminar light source. Is laminar the correct word? I think it is. So if you look directly from the top, no matter where you are, you'll never see any of the shadow, but as soon as you start moving stuff around, you'll see the shadow. But from render, I assume you can change the light source. Well, as Engel has pointed out with the bases, the 60mm, well, any size base should always be measured at the widest point. The footprint, which is usually the lowest point in most cases, particularly if you've got like an angle like this, the widest point would be the lowest. However, the heavy weapons team bases are 60mm at the top and 64mm at the bottom. So they've given the wrong measurement, which is interesting. So I need to correct my bases. And that's a simple case of going into here and going from 30, which doubles to make 60, to 32, which doubles to make 64. And that's done. There we go. That was easy. And because both of these were built off of that original sketch, they're both now 64. Easy. The other thing about these bases, I did leave a little bit of an offset, and you can just see it here, this tiny little step. Can you see that? Let's move that to the middle of the screen. There we go. This tiny little step here, which means that when this is printed, it's probably not going to print exactly this, and it might be slightly bigger, it might be slightly smaller. So I left this little bit of a gap so that this would always fit under the underside, underneath the other side. However, even with my little gap, still didn't fit. It overexposed the resin so much that even that gap was obliterated. And so, I should probably pull this by about that much, and then I can save it. And I'll give that a print, and we'll see if that is any better than the last one. That said, one of the two, because I printed two halves. Obviously, I printed two halves because I want to make a full base. The edge here collapsed, and so I'm going to have to go back and rebuild it with some Milliput, which is a little dull, but oh well, I'll deal with it. Yeah, I think that's all I needed for this. Interestingly, this is now, because I didn't change the inner diameter of this, the foot is now quite a bit bigger, but that's fine. It can be how it wants to be. And these are slightly further apart because they're measured from the edge. Interesting. Is that the right size? Yeah, it's the right size. Yeah, it just didn't look right for a second, but it is correct. Right, so subject the second. This is something we built a little while ago. I built the shield on a month ago, I think, 4 or 5 weeks ago, and then 2 weeks ago I built the cog. There's a plane flying into my window. It's actually flying very low. And we had a bit of fun trying to get it to be a rounded front rather than flat. We did manage to succeed there. And if I change my camera view, this is what it looks like printed and painted. So this is my sister who's, well, I printed it for her and she's painted it and added it to her model. The blue to white is a wet blend through most of the shield, but then the stripe of white at the top and the stripe of dark blue at the bottom are kind of added in. And then the cog and the edging was picked out in I think it's a rose gold, but like a brassy looking thing. So there's that. It is so very. So that's the base and just the mention of that. And we'll let us have a go at something else. And I want to do something completely different. I'm not sure if you can see the file name. You can't quite. It's off the top of the screen here. This file is named Wooden Planks because how big should a wooden plank be in scale? Wooden planks are a thing that should probably be easy enough to have around, and there's probably some on Thingiverse, but I want to have a go at building my own. Yeah, let's go for 20 by 5. Yeah, the Paris gun, except it's a suspension monorail. I don't think that's going to work. There we go, plank of wood, we're done. Congratulations, the end. No. Let's duplicate and move it over here. And let's see if I can create a nice little wood grain effect that will print out and not look awful. The thing about a train gun is that to shoot a gun from a train, the gun goes on the top. I'm making a suspension railway where the track's on the top. I'm sure you can see the difficulty of making that. I could make a bomb dropping train. Like, I could have make a little insert here so that it can drop bombs out. Or that absolutely ridiculous, what's it called? There is a Russian bomber, a bomber plane that was converted so that instead of dropping bombs, it had like 150 submachine guns mounted in it, PPSH-41, and you just flew over and pulled this big lever in the cockpit and it would just unleash hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of rounds of ammunition just at the ground. That's ridiculous, and that's a possibility. Missiles would be fairly easy because launching a missile doesn't require a significant barrel length like a gun does. How come that went that way and this went... I guess it did also go at an angle, but not as much. Whatever, doesn't matter. Let's go for another. What is that? Oh, that is a spline. What? Did I not start at the edge? Barrel could be spread on multiple carriages. That would require the barrel to be able to pivot. Yeah, it would be a design challenge. It's not the only example of a not necessarily a pivoting barrel, but there are barrels of various things that have that aren't just a solid tube of metal the entire length. What's it called? There's another ridiculously large gun, bigger than the Paris gun and stuff like that. It's built into a mountainside. It's like 3 of them made in different parts of the world, and they have a main charge at the bottom that starts the projectile moving, and then at multiple points up the barrel there are additional like balanced charges at the side, so that as the projectile passes it, this extra gunpowder blows up and keeps the pressure on the projectile so that the muzzle velocity is ridiculous. A telescoping barrel. That's silly. So that's the thing. So if I pull every other shape by 0.5, we get something that doesn't look much at all like wood. A las train. Yeah, but remember that in 40k, las weapons have recoil. Because of course they do. Oh, can I get the intersection point here? Is there any way I can select the intersection of this? I might have to go back to the original sketch and put a point on the very intersection of that. But I want to check to make sure that this actually works. Let's do this one at a time, otherwise it's just going to throw a fit. I want to use the sweep tool, which means I can pull a profile like this semicircle that I just made along a path, which is my Can I project a wood grain texture onto the wood? Well, that's what I'm doing. Oh, do you mean a bump map? there is some provision for bump mapping in Fusion, but I honestly don't know how it works. I have not looked into it. Sweep along that path. Why does that look? Oh. Oh. Oh, okay. It's pulling it at the angle that the line intersects the circle. So it's not pulling it directly, it's kind of pulling it at an angle. This is interesting. I'm just trying different processes to see how they work, so that eventually when I become actually good at this, I've got lots of reference of things that work and things that don't work. Like, for example, this not working because these two lines have crashed into each other. Right, let's try someone else, because that obviously is not working. I think having a duplicate of every line makes sense. Even if that means redrawing a lot of stuff. Let's make sure that it actually meets the end. Close enough. I'll look at it for next time. That's a lie, I won't, but I'll pretend that I'll look out for next time. I have actually looked up some of the bitmap stuff, and kind of like the textures we looked at earlier, like all of these different colors, it seems to be cosmetic only in the rendering, not actually in, like, it doesn't pull that bump mapping into the STL. Yeah, the idea of sculpting in wood grain is that when you come to paint it, you can use very simple techniques like a wash. You paint the whole thing brown, put a black wash on it, and the black wash will sink into these recesses and give the impression of wood. I don't think it was happy with that. So let's see, can I select all of these now? I mean, that's better than the first one. It looks like it's fallen out of the 1970s. A little bit. It's fine. Doesn't look terrible. I mean, it looks terrible, but it doesn't look like that terrible. I am creating organic shapes geometrically. Well, these are already 1/4 of a millimeter. These are so small that they might not even print well on my printer. Or on the resin printer, it might not pull out these details. It is highly likely that it will just overexpose and it'll overexpose and fill all of these in, which is the trouble I was having with the tab on the base, or on the kind of the big base. I mean, this technique worked, And I can have a few goes at different sizes, like making them wider or narrower, making them deeper and shallower, so that it does come out on my printer. Or I could just, 400 quid for a new printer with an 8K screen. I've seen a printer with a 12K screen, which is just weird, because it's been doubling 1, 2, 4, 8. You would expect the next one to be 16, but there's 12. Not sure why. Let's start again with the same technique and see if we can come up with something a little differenter. Didn't learn my lesson from the first one. I should be working right to left. To ensure that the directionality of it is correct, but it's fine. It's fine. I have 2 planks of wood. I'm not convinced that they are convincing, but there they are. Perhaps I shall do some research for next time to come up with a better plank. Or maybe I'll just never try and do organic shapes again, because as has been repeatedly mentioned, I'm better with mechanical shapes than organic shapes, and given how bad I am at mechanical shapes, yeah, organics. Organics. I think we are getting to the point where we're nearly done on this. Carriage, a version of a carriage here is ready to go, or a tram. We've got the bogies and wheels, and we have rails. The only thing remaining is a stand. So yeah, a stand. Yes, I do need more practice. That's why I'm practicing. Yes, I also need a platform. However, you don't necessarily require a platform every time you need to set this up. But the minimum to set this up would be rail, carriage, and the gantry that holds the rail. Having a platform is a good part of the set, but it's not actually required for the scenery aspect of it. How big is the average gaming table? In scale, I mean. There could easily be the battle could easily be happening in an area where there is no platform, in between platforms. But you're right, I need a platform eventually. I think I need to recreate this on here. But do I do it with an overhang? Because this is a curved top section. I guess it doesn't have to be. Actually, no, it does, because the wheels like run right against here. So it actually does have to be. What was it? 25. Actually, this is a good point. By the same argument, you could easily have a section of the rail that doesn't actually have a carriage on it either. It could easily be the battle taking place in between train times, which means that the most important part is the rail and the gantry for the rail. And the gantry is the bit I'm making now, so I think we've agreed that this is the important bit. Do I put a center? No, I can't put a center point on that. No, I put the center point on this. Yes. Rectangle, center point. That's not the middle of that line. Oh, it's the middle of in between there and there. Oh. How long is that? What? I did not click. I did not click there. Ten, 5, right, so to there, center point rectangle. Hey, where's my, oh, I can't rotate this version. It's only the 3-point that can rotate. That's fine. There's a way of rotating the grid, isn't there? In the grim darkness of the future of the Imperium, will the trains run on time? Who knows? Who could possibly say? I love the optical illusion that this line appears like it's bending in the other direction, even though that is in fact a straight line. Of course not. This is heresy. I'll tell you what's heresy. Heresy was in the last Ordo Redactus message. That was heretical. What was it? 25, so 12.5 is half of that. So from here, I need to go... Tell you what might be easier, just building it separately and attaching it. Or just guessing. It doesn't necessarily need to be... Yeah, I'm kind of overthinking this, I think. I think I can just do it as that, and then... Oh god, the perspective. Are these two lines parallel? 25. 25. This here, like, other than the, like, these sides are actually curved, but these two lines, this line here and this line here, form a rectangle, an even rectangle. Man, this is screwing with my perspective. Why are we upside down? 25? Why are these at different heights? Bureaucracy or heresy, which is strong? That is hilarious. And the answer is, of course, yes. So is this a curved surface? I think it must be. It's such a slight... I'm in... Where is it? It's one of these. Wait, it's not one of these? Where is it? Orthographic. Oh, I hate perspective view. Oh, I hate perspective view. Like, it makes more sense visually when you just look at it from one angle, but when you're moving around it, it just... Oh, no, that looks awful. No, keep it in. I need it like this. I need everything to be the correct size, no matter how far or no matter how deep into the screen it is. Oh, it's just everything is worse. Everything is worse. Particularly that curved section of rail just looks... Oh. Yeah, no thanks. No thanks. No thanks. Alright, so what measurements are there here? Did you... Is my mouse double clicking? So that's a 5mm chamfer. And then this is a 12.5, 12.5, and 10mm circle. Oh, that's actually going to be a problem, isn't it? Chamfer 5. Okay. Chamfer 5. So manage that bit. That bit looks good. Looks correct. However, how do I then pull this hole? Because I can't draw a... Where is my sketch? Am I? Where is my sketch? It's not even. It's not even at this center point. Yes, it is. Yeah. That's weird. That's really obnoxious. However, I think I can use it. The helicopters going overhead usually indicate that someone is having an extremely bad day. Unfortunately. This was a 10mm hole, so if I select the... Oh, you're kidding me. It's done it again. Select that. Bring back this. Pull both directions. Where's this? Because that needs to be a join. There we go. Too many extra. So pull this. Let's go for symmetric. Cut. There we go. There we go. Does that look correct? Yes? Well, I think that's correct. It's on a curved surface, but it is shallow enough that it's probably not going to interfere with anything. Maybe? Maybe. It's kind of weird that this line has been brought through, but it actually turned out to be helpful. I wish I knew why that happened so that I could do it deliberately next time. Because, yeah, like I say, it is a useful thing. One other thought that I had. Given that the rails and the carriage is probably going to be FDM printed, this line here, well, this corner here, because FDM printers don't really do inner corners very well, this is probably going to get rounded off. And so I need to artificially enlarge that to make sure that it doesn't round it off. So the average nozzle size is a 0.4. So I need a 0.8. That doesn't seem right. I need a 0.4. Yeah. I think this is right. Because what that means is that when this toolpath comes in, instead of going to the corner and then down, which will round off the inside edge, it will go around here, which will probably fill in this tube, but it will give a sharper edge. It probably won't fill it in completely. Little help. And what that means is that when the other piece comes in, instead of having a rounded edge that kind of, if you have a corner and a rounded edge, it's not going to fit all the way in. Whereas if you have it with that gap, it's going to be able to fit further in and hopefully fit correctly. Now I think I actually have to do that on this corner as well. So actually this should be distance, it should be 2 object and it should be 2 here, because it only needs to go through that section, it doesn't need to go through the whole thing. And then here I need to do the same, put a 0.4 and extrude that. 2 object to the other side, because that will then work for both pieces. I could just fillet these by 1 mil. That's a bit much. What? Why am I making that so complicated? Why are you confused? Why am I confused? Why is everything confused? Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. That makes so much more sense. Because that now, yeah. Did I fill it just... Yeah, that probably does make sense to do that one as well. Yeah. Let me in. I can do the same for this. If I select all three, will it? Yes. Cool. That makes things easier. I can see past the other parts of the model. Where is it? There. I shouldn't be working with all of this in the same file. I should have separated this out. I've only got .94 sketches. I can go for a little bit longer. I've only got 94 sketches. Yes. The complexity of this, coupled with my inability to do things properly. So now let's make the connector point for the gantry and a sample gantry, which would mean some way of holding that pin. Pin here just for assembling the model. We'll need a corresponding recess in the gantry, or the connecting point for the gantry. But this all should just be one point. Let's get ourselves a 1mm clearance between this and the top of the wheels, which should be absolutely plenty. And let's also offset from this by that much-ish. So what does this need to be? Does this need to be wider than our carriage? I think it does. If we imagine a tunnel, there would be clearances for different types of carriage, different types of other equipment. Hey, Divik, how are you doing? I'm making a thing. It's coming along. I'm coupling engineering with my inability to do engineering properly. I have a little train. Suspension railway. We've made the rail sections. I'm just trying to work out exactly what I want to do with the the actual suspension system, because it needs to be wider than the carriage, but then also come to the ground, which we can arbitrarily say is here. I did all these measurements when I first started. I like laid everything out. Yes, an engineer meltdown. That's definitely what's happening here. Oh no, my circle. I want my circle back. There you go. Anyway, I had a good... Let's call that 25 and let's mirror that. And then from here, what earth is this? Sorry, my mood just didn't agree with that. There. Can I match the tangent? Are you going to let me? Yes. Here I can go just straight down to the... Give me. Fictional ground. Can I, please? Pretty please. Let's see what that looks like. That certainly looks like... Sure. That could do it. That might just do it. So these should be... I mean, realistically these should be I-beams, but I'm not making I-beams. I'm just going to make these blocks. Can I just offset this whole thing? I mean, if it let me select the lines I'd actually drawn on this sketch. Seriously? Can you? Why not? Why not? Why can't you like fine. Do something else. Can I do at least this section? Yes. Can't combine it with that. How thick should this be? 5mm? Probably not big enough, is it? I have previously worked out that 5mm thick sections are actually strong enough in themselves to support weight, but this would end up being a very kind of long, spindly piece. So, you know what? It's going to have to be an I-beam, isn't it? Yeah, let's make it 5. Let's go with 5, and I can always increase it later. Why does this side let me use that and this side doesn't? Come on. Come on. So that's not a coherent shape because the bottom isn't filled in yet. Boom, coherent shape. Marvelous. Sorry, I just punched the microphone. No Night Foxy Mitts, thanks for popping by. So there's that, and that will... Well, I've been on for an hour. I can probably roll off some point soon. So I will need a pin to go in here, but that's easy enough to make. I don't think I actually need to build this on the rail anymore. I think I can move this to free space. And it does need more structure. Probably just some ridges on the outside would give it enough. Well, all digital modeling is done with CAD. It's kind of the definition of it. I'm more on the engineering side of CADs, whereas things like Blender and ZBrush are more the kind of artsy side of CAD. But I don't know how to use any of that software. But I do know how to use this. How do I want to approach this? Could probably just offset it up here. Yeah. Soft that whole thing by 1 mil. Block off these bits. CAD means computer aided design. And while Autodesk seems to think they have monopolized that term, it applies to a lot else. Maybe you should be doing everything in full scale and scaling it down at the end. No, but also I see the point. If I was making this true scale, if I was making this a perfectly realistic scale version of an actual railway system that could function, then yes, absolutely, I would do that sort of thing. I'm not. I am making a... Yeah, I'm not a fan of that. Let's make it 2. There you go, that's nicer. I'm making this hero scale. Just like a lot of models that are this size are made heroic scale. Meaning that essentially it just means it's cartoony. Everything is like proportioned wrong. But with the purpose of making it Well, there are two main reasons why models are done at heroic scale. One is that it makes it easier to paint, because things like hands and eyes and so on and so forth are significantly larger than they would be if it was true scale. But also, it just makes them look nicer, because when you've got an eyeball that's like 1/10 of a millimeter across, you can't see it. You can't see it clearly, particularly not when it's in a diorama or when it's on a gaming table. The kind of places where you actually see these models, having facial features that small, having hands that small, having guns that small, or like weapons and equipment, whatever it is, as realistic as it looks like you can't see it clearly. Whereas if you make it cartoony, make it heroic scale, the eyes get bigger, the face gets bigger, the hands get bigger, weapons and equipment is proportionally wrong, but it's all makes it easier to see. Like an arm still looks like an arm, even if it's twice as wide as an arm should actually be. Case in point, the Cadians that I happen to have to hand. This is a Games Workshop Cadian, and if you scaled this up so it was the same height as me, his hand would be about 3 times the size of mine. I'm lost. What am I doing? Mine's to join. Rivets. Yes. Yes. Greebling and riveting. It's a riveting experience. Riveting live stream. I want to make it. I want to get the structural stuff first. I actually probably could have done this on the inside. Probably should have done it on the inside as well. So I need to make sure that I don't interfere with the rail. Oh, that's a problem. I mean, the train also needs some rivets. I've done a lot of greebling on the train. I don't want to do any more. I don't want to do any more. I need to invent a tool for did you really not? There you go. Please evacuate the railway station. Fine, I'll do rivets. I'll do rivets. Nope, I didn't want to do it that way. I wanted to do it this way because it has to be on the same sketch. No, it's got hazard stripes. Hazard stripes are vital. I did hazard stripes. Did that? No. Why? It did that exact same thing. That's weird. I'm not entirely sure what it did there. Or what it did or didn't there. Hey look, I made an I-beam. I mean, technically this is in the opposite direction to what an I-beam would actually be used for. It's just mainly to stop it from twisting at this point. Sensibly, I should also join the bottom of this together, because at the moment it's a kind of this kind of shape and it will flex a little bit, and as soon as you put the train on it and put weight on it and start moving it, it's going to kind of bend outwards and collapse. So if I join the bottom, it might still rhombus, but it'll be a lot more secure. I can make a base station for it. That would be pretty easy to do. Just a piece here with some connection points that you can glue this into, because that will then print as a separate piece and have a larger footprint, which means it's easier for oh yeah, sure, cross bracing. I'll just put a cross brace through here. There you go. I cross braced it. Now the train can't get through. The chat's on a 30-second delay. That's pretty standard for YouTube. I need to make this track my wake up in the morning soundtrack. Let's project and include both of the lower surfaces of this, and then offset them by 0.5 is probably enough. And then that's not what I wanted. That looks about right. I think. This piece is massive. How big is this piece? 150 by 110. That is, I mean, that's a decent quarter of my print bed. If I printed that flat, which I'd rather print it flat than anything else. but the train fits through pretty easily. This is the bracing. What I could also do is down here, clear of where the train goes, put in an angled section. Because this could potentially rhombus, which I think is what Engel's getting at. Like, even though these are now fixed distance, the whole thing could lean one way or the other, even though the base is fixed in place. So having some just at the sides down here, because we've already got this, which prevents this piece from, well, reduces the amount that this piece will bend, and I've added in these as well for the same reason. How big did this end up being? 36 millimeters. Everything's ending up being odd numbers. So if that's 36, I need to go 18. So I construct an offset plane 18 millimeters inside there. Yep, that should be the middle point. Finite element. I don't know what that means. Let's pull in the inside surface of these. Oh, okay. And then make that invisible. And then we can go... Oh, actually, I also need to bring in that. And why not these as well, because they're technically there. Oh, you're right, flying buttresses. Oh, it all needs to be Gothic archways. I have made grave error in not making this just one massive Gothic archway with buttresses on the side. Simulation section on Fusion. Is that in the free version? Because I'm on the personal version. I thought that was one of the features that was only for the professional version. Given how Gothic archways work, if I go so 35, and I can make this 5, and then from here I make a 10. Nope, 20. Then this will be... Oh, it's a bit close. It's a bit too small. So we need to go probably 20. And... I mean, now it's going to be too close to the bottom, isn't it? Way too close now. It's going to be, particularly on corners, that's going to interfere. So it's going to have to be 35, 20. No, 10. Yes. Can I please have the middle of this? Just let me. This isn't going to look right. I can kind of tell already. I mean, it's not that bad, but yeah, that doesn't look right. Did you know LAN from gaming is actually Droutmans? I don't know what any of that means. Ian from gaming is actually Droutmans. I don't know what Droutmans means. Oh, draftman. Right. That makes sense. I don't know how the English language works. I've only been using it 37 years. Yeah, I don't like this. I don't like this at all. This doesn't look right. Also, this is just as easy for it to rhombus. I mean, it helps, but it's not. It needs just a triangle. Just a straight line. Well, we are rolling on with time. Gone on for well over an hour now. I'll give this one more go and then I'll call it for today. So, if there are any more questions from anyone else watching other than Engel, I mean, you can ask questions as well. Ask any questions before I wrap up the stream. Why are you're starting at 180 degrees? 90 plus 45 is 135. There we go. That was obnoxious. Yes, anyone asking questions in the chat? If anyone would like to ask questions in the chat before I wrap up the stream, please do so now. And I will try to answer them before I finish. And I will finish in maybe 5 minutes or so. What are you? What are you? The outside edge of the buttress should be flat and the inside's arched. Yeah, that is kind of also correct. New rules for Tanith in the works. I've actually seen them. They're on the Games Workshop website. Do you mean the character models are being given like special unit status rather than being a Tanith army? It is a. Did that work? Rather than being a Tanith army, it's just the 6 models being their own thing. There are recommended I don't know what the term is, but whatever the new 40k things for like doctrines, stratagems, whatever they're called, to run a full Tanith army, which whatever. Symmetric, total distance 5. Add, join. I mean, strictly speaking, this is stronger, but it looks worse. It looks so much worse. This is the 90-degree bracing. It's a coherent outer shape now. It doesn't need any more. Oh, you mean this way. I'll just make the base bigger. There you go. It won't fall over now. I remember the rule for try again brag because that was quite funny. And there's some discussion about exactly how the try again rule works. But he gets 2 shots, and if he misses both of them, he gets to try again. And the way that it's written, some people have suggested that if he misses again, because it's not written that he gets to re-roll misses, or he gets to re-roll both if he misses both, is he gets to attack again if he misses both. And so that implies that if he misses again, if he misses twice and then twice again, he can have a 3rd go and then maybe a 4th go. And it effectively means he will always hit at least once, no matter how many times it takes to get to that point. But that's just kind of Munchkin rules at that point. Ron gets an interesting rule that I can't remember if it's the enemy unit or the one enemy model gets to like they fight last because of Ron. It's an interesting rule. I mean, you think it's OP, but he also has a ballistic skill of 2, so it's likely. And he only gets 2 shots, so it's not like there's one of the orc weapons that on average hits 3 times with higher damage output and higher armor pierce or better armor pierce value. So yeah, it's a fun rule. The problem is that there's not synergy between the models, because of the 6 models, 2 of them are extremely well focused at shooting, 2 of them are extremely well focused at close combat, and then 2 of them have rules that are sort of based on being around other units, which sort of applies in both situations but also sort of applies in different situations as well. So I'd rather be able to split them up. It's nice that Bragg can move and shoot. I think Larkin can as well. I think everyone can move and shoot, but they don't get the penalty for it. But yeah, I'd rather take them as a squad, but then put the shooty ones in a shooty squad, and put the close combat ones in the close combat squad, and then put the commanders in the middle of the line of infantry. It makes more sense that way. But you can't do that. You're kind of stuck with them all in one lump. But then they can deep strike. I don't know what the rule is called. Every unit that deep strike has a different name for it now. Like, can't you just call it deep strike, or pick a name for it and give everyone that same name? It's fine. It's the same rule, but there's like 60 rules. Oh no, did I join? No, I didn't. Okay, good. I thought I accidentally joined it all up together. Are you going to make a set of points? The command squad's 125 points. My army is probably at 60 models. Given heavy weapons and things, that's probably 400 or 500 points, depending on how I organise it. Might be more than 500 points actually, because I've got a few commissars and things. Or do you mean points as in like the railway points? A junction. Rail points. Okay, junction. That could be done. It would be a hinge. Effectively, it would be a hinge, and then this would move in an arc, and then 2 sections of rail would line up with different points in that arc. That's something that needs significant thought to go into it. Because honestly, I did not design the rail with that in mind. Do I post my models anywhere? Yes, I have a Thingiverse page and a Cults 3D page. The vast majority of the work that I've uploaded so far is from the Nerf hobby, mechanical components and cosmetic parts for Nerf guns. I think I've got a couple of the bases that I've done uploaded somewhere. I think. But there's not much in the way of tabletop wargaming scale modelling that I've uploaded yet. Just because it's a mix of I'm either not happy with it or it's not really worth uploading. Like the double base, there's like 6 of these on Thingiverse in different orientations. Like, this is nothing special. I am going to upload this because this is an interesting thing. This is probably going on my Thingiverse page because it's not worth selling. The railway, when it's ready, when I'm actually happy with it, will go up on Cults 3D for money. Also, I'm at the point where I think this is ready to go. I need to fix my printer, which means working out what the fuck is wrong with the damn thing. But I want to print out every part here, including all the alternate versions of the holder, so that I can actually confirm that it all works. Because I printed out the whole thing a little while ago, and I printed out alternate versions of everything, but I've also been adjusting it along the way. So I want to print out everything from version 23. Can you see? Yeah, just about off the top of the screen. But this is saved as version 23. I want to print out everything from version 23 and make that the release version, and I want to make sure it all works together. But I'm pretty sure, I'm like 95% sure that this is good to go right now. For anyone who doesn't recognize this, if you're confused, this is my my painting handle. You put a model on one of these three surfaces, and you can rotate it around, you can turn it upside down, and you can lift it up and down. So you can get to any part of the model with a paintbrush without kind of being all obnoxiously contorted. But that means having a printer that works. Anyway, we've done a whole bunch of stuff. I am going to save my wooden planks, even though they're rubbish. The painting handle needs a flying buttress. You know, there's quite a few bits of painting paraphernalia, painting accessories, model making accessories, that are built in such a way that they become terrain when you're not using them. Because you're not painting and also playing a game at the same time, although I would. And so, like, I've seen a paint box, like a box for the pots of paint, and when you close it up, it becomes a little building. And I've seen like a painting, like one for the Games Workshop pots to stop them from falling over, like a little holder, and that's like a fountain sort of thing. So when you're not using it to paint, you can become a fountain for your games. So actually making the painting handle work as a piece of scenery, what could you possibly, hang on, let me open up again. Let me save this and I'll open up again. In 40k scale, what could this possibly be? Given that a model is from this surface to this, to the top of this, that's the height of a normal model. What could that possibly be? Some kind of crane, field generator, something. And also, how do you do it without making it uncomfortable? Because you have to be able to hold this thing to paint with. It's a nice idea, but I don't think I'm going to go for that. It's an Eldar portal thingy. Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of thing. What was that? The fake Stargate from Big Hero 6. That was on a gimbal thing, wasn't it? I don't remember. I've only seen that film once. Actually, that's not true. I've seen it twice because my friends thought I hadn't seen it. And then the next week they were like, oh, you haven't seen Big Hero 6, let's watch it again. And so I walked out. And then every time I saw them for about 3 months, it was, hey, do you want to see Big Hero 6? No, I don't. Right, well, that's a long, rambly outro that's taken about 15 minutes. So I will wrap up here. This is nearly good to go. This is getting close. I just need to work out how to make the gantry not look awful, because at the moment that looks awful. I wonder how often you would have to put these. I'm hoping that you don't have to put them every single section of rail, because then they're going to be 100 millimeters apart. They're going to be every, like, this far apart. That's not ideal. Yeah, anyway, yeah, I'll wrap up the stream. So thank you everyone who popped past and watched along. I'm ED-SKaR, always will be, and I'll see you next week for hopefully something a little more interesting, because this has been a bit confusing with all of this kind of work here. That just looks awful. It does. It looks bad. Anyway, we'll work it out next week. Bye bye.